And they left Egypt with Moses during the Exodus. And this is the Gad that is talked about later on. There is evidence to suggest that there was a second wave of Hebrew and Gadites to Nigeria after the destruction of the first temple to join the first Gadites of Eri, Arodi, and Areli that were already there. It says in the Brit Hadesha, the New Testament, in the letter of James 1:1, James, a servant of God, of the Lord Jesus Christ, Yeshua the Messiah, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. This was written around the 1st century. So, during the 1st century, Israel knew where the lost 10 tribes were. It's lost. Let's move. Scientific evidence. How did Eri, Arodi, and Areli get to Nigeria, and why are they black? People will tell you that Jews are white. Not so. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And it is believed by some Jewish scholars that Ham is the father of the very dark-skinned races. Shem was the father of the Jewish and the Arab peoples. And Japheth was the father of the Eurasian Caucasian peoples. So, we know that Japheth was a Jew. He was a Hebrew. He was from Shem. But we don't know the ethnicity of Zilpah, who had Gad. She could have been committed. And they may have slowly moved towards the peoples of the lands more closely resembling their skin tone. So Jacob had these 12 sons. They were not all the same color. They were birthed by different women of different colors. So Israel is a rainbow of colors. I already told you about the pre-Exodus Exodus. I already told you about the Assyrian exile. So if Zilpah was not committed, over time the sons of Eri, Arodi, and Areli's skin tone adapted to their environment. We also must take into consideration if Gad's son Eri made it to Nigeria, that they probably intermingled with the indigenous peoples already there. So what does Ebu mean? Ebu is a perversion of the word Hebrew. In Genesis 10:21, Hashem, the father of the children of Eber. That's where we get the word Hebrew from. Eber, Hebrew. Now, the Ebu used to be called Hebos. They were called Hebos by the British. And there are posters, slave trade posters that says "Find Hebos for sale." And as languages evolve, they usually get shorter and shorter. So we got Hebos, and it eventually became Eber. Archaeological evidence. At the palace of Obed, there's an ancient stone throne you see right there that Eri built in recognition of his father Gad. Jewish archaeologists and scholars came to Ebu land and saw this inscription at the foot of this throne, and it says a gift, a dedication to Gad. And when the Israelis seen this, they looked at this and they said, "We can read this. We know exactly what this says. It's ancient Hebrew." Other archaeological evidence. The onyx stone is the stone of Gad in the Levitical breastplate. Onyx stones have been found with the Paleo-Hebrew inscription Gad in Nigeria. 1917, the British discovered about 500 feet below the soil on the plate of palace grounds a solid bronze Star of David. Cocoa coins were minted to honor this discovery. I suggest you read Thurston Shaw's Unearthing Ibu. Cultural evidences. You being Ibu, you should know. You circumcised on the 8th day. You have the naming ceremony, keeping the lunar calendar. You have Shemitah years. You have Shemitah years, which means sabbatical years. You bury your dead facing east. You believe in the resurrection, and you sit Shiva. In other words, you mourn just as the Jewish people mourn. This is what a Ibu man who is a Hebrew cantor in a synagogue said. In a nutshell, every law as stated in the Torah was being practiced by our forefathers before the advent of Christianity, except that our fathers went into idol worship, but they still kept the traditions as was handed over to them by their forefathers. Linguistic evidence, we don't have time. I'm going to try to wrap this up. I've been told that I only have a few minutes. Okay. Now I want to point out, if you want to learn about the linguistic evidence, it's in my book. But let's go the parallel histories and cultures. You have the Hebrew, or should I say the Hebrew. That's a picture of Rabbi Gabriel Lula in Florida. And then there's a Jew, which is myself. I'm from Judah. That's where we get the word Jew from. It should interest you that Israel, we know, were slaves in Egypt. The Hebrew were slaves in the Americas. And the Americas is a type of spiritual Egypt. The destruction of the temple and the Holocaust took place on the Hebrew calendar month of Av. And Av is the most foreboding month on the calendar. Anything and everything that you can imagine bad happened in Israel during the month of Av. What do you know? The Biafra War also took place during the month of Av. The Biafra War was the Hebrew version of the Holocaust. Now, all right, let's continue to move on. So we have these parallel cultures and parallel histories. What is the future of Gad? Revelation 7:5 says, of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. So we know that in the end time, the tribe of Gad will be found. A portion of Gad has been found, and I'm looking at Gad right now. So 3, possibly 4, out of 7 sons of Gad have already been found. So eventually, the other tribes will be found. So what about Gad's sons, Zephon, Haggai, and Shunai? We don't know. But there is anecdotal evidence, circumstantial evidence, no hard evidence that links some of the Spaniards, South Americans, the Moors, the Goths, and the Nordics, possibly to the tribe of Gad. So I'm continuing looking into this, trying to find some hardcore evidence. So what is this all, how do you wrap this all up? Ezekiel 37 is a prophecy given to Ezekiel. Ezekiel was to take 2 staffs, one for Judah and one for Ephraim. Ephraim is another name for the 10 tribes. And he says, put these sticks together and they will become one in your hand. That is an end-time prophecy saying that the tribes will be found. The lost tribes will be found. And the evil people is just one of those lost tribes. I'm in the process right now of writing a new book. Can you help me pronounce this?
Omirana.
Omirana. The evil way. Detailing all the aspects of the evil way of life and how it parallels the Hebrew way of life as found in the Torah and in Judaism. I hope to have this published by this coming spring. So for more information, there's the websites, administries.com and HebrewFriendsofIsrael.com. Other sites that might interest you is AreaKingdom.com, NuriKingdom.com, and these other. You can also find a profile for Eze Chukwuemeka Eri on Facebook, as well as Hebrew Friends of Israel is on Facebook and Twitter as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen,